been having a little bit more fun with
Yeah,
it. But
enjoy life.
we're getting into game number 1. And Dog, I mean, he mentioned that he heard he got spicy stuff on Rhdgurwns' side. I'm seeing some spicy stuff in his hand, but Rhdgurwns, holy smokes. That, I tell you what, I've played a lot of the jeklik deck, and when you draw the jeklik early on, that's the moneymaker right there.
Oh, yeah. Because then the downside of the discarding is pretty much nullified. As long as you can get jeklik discarded off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the juice right there.
Oh, and the Dog immediately chuckling. He's like, oh, my goodness. Lakari sacrifice. Trump was right all along.
Well, I think one of the reasons that this deck ends up working is because of Cataclysm. You know, when you invest a lot into accomplishing this strange game plan of discarding a lot of cards, what ends up happening is you need a way to clear the board, and you have that exactly with Cataclysm, which makes you discard your hand, but you get to destroy all minions in play. And oftentimes that completes the quest, and it duplicates the jeklik in your hand. It's the 1-2 punch that this deck is really looking for, is to draw jeklik and Cataclysm.
Hey, question. Does Shriek discard the coin in this position?
Yes.
I haven't actually played discard warlock.
Shriek will always discard the lowest costed card in your hand. If the cards are tied for cost, it then discards a random one of the lowest cost.
Right. So if he coined and shrieked, it could be jeklik, it could be Actually, it would be
the 3-cost minion.
Yeah, it'd be a 3-cost minion. I apologize, but assuming that's the case, it would be equal chance for Cataclysm. Hellfire.
But that is the thing I ran into at one point though, was to do it this way. I don't think he needs to necessarily Shriek here. I think he's fine to just let this go, and then you coin out the Cataclysm next turn and see if that's enough. It's a very all-in style of strategy, and honestly, one of the reasons why I enjoy it so much is because that's my favorite way to live, on the edge of defeat.
He can finish the quest next turn.
And blow up the board.
And blow up the board.
And get 2, 3, 4 lifesteals in hand.
Yeah, it just curves out perfectly.
It's ideal.
It's so sick.
It is crazy
yes!
that this is a real thing.
Job's done.
Dog just nodding like, okay, cool.
2 jekliks!
He can't believe it! That is the fastest I've ever seen a quest completed in a game of Hearthstone.
This is one of the reasons I was so excited about High Priestess Jeklik, is this would be impossible if you do not have a card that could come back to your hand.
The icing on the cake is the High Priestess, because, you know, normally when the Warlock all-ins, they're just kind of like out. You know, they don't have anything else. They have to tap a turn. Rhdgurwns actually has ways to get back onto the board.
Oh, boy. That is a very strong draw. So now one of the Jekliks gets invested. The Nether Portal comes down next turn automatically to hope that you can use it to stabilize, and then Cataclysm starts cleaning up the board position to hope to get you into the favorable spot once again and use Jeklik to sustain while the Imps pick away. Lakari Sacrifice, for those of you who do not know, gives you Nether Portal after you discard 6 cards. And Nether Portal sits on the board. It takes up a minion spot, but it's not a minion. And at the end of your turn, you summon 2 3/2 Imps.
And part of the reason why this is a big deal for people who are not familiar is because Journey to Aggro came out a year and a half ago, and a lot of people hyped up the Lakari Sacrifice to be like this infinite value machine, because that portal stays turn after turn, always summoning 3/2s. So everyone thought, yeah, like I can finally get, you know, some good benefits from discarding some of my cards. Except that didn't end up being the case, to the point where Lakari Sacrifice was one of the lowest win rates in all of Hearthstone, straight up. Whenever it was played, it had the lowest win rate. So people just fell off that train, and for a while people felt like, it's such a shame that Discard Warlock never truly took off beyond the Silverware Golem from Karazhan. But perhaps there's something to it now. Okay. Okay, I think
well, actually, hang on a second. I forgot about that card. In my head, that card is always such a negative impact that I forgot to include that in my versions. But with Jeklik, that makes perfect sense, because you will just get a hand of 10 Jekliks.
Well, the second Cataclysm is brilliant because now he gets more Jekliks, and now he can life tap too, so he doesn't even need the Howl Fiend. And he keeps summoning these 3/2s because the portal is not a minion, so it stays on the board. It's also everything.
The end of turn effect, I think, is a really big deal about it, because it'll let you sweep out the board and then still have presence there well. It's like having a Death Rattle minion live through like a Hellfire or Defile or what have you. Dog, though, no shortage of damage here. I mean, Spirit of the Frog is so good. A 3-mana,
oh my God,
a 3-mana 0/3 spirit that when you cast a spell, you draw another spell from your deck that costs 1 additional. So being able to Rockbiter into the second Lava Burst here may be enough for Dog to actually get out of this.
Yeah, except the Jeklik The taunt lifesteal is mega clutch in this position. And Rhdgurwns is thinking about if he wants to deal with that. But if he does, he's dead. If he just Hellfires here, Rhdgurwns loses.
Threatening lethal next turn himself, though.
That's right. This one's a fiery finish.
Ooh.
He could get that Rockbiter back by playing Kragwa, which is a legendary champion. Or is it the lowest?
That's the lowest, the frog.
That gives you back the spells you played the previous turn. So in that case, Dog played the Rockbiter. And that would let him draw another 3-mana spell.
Yeah, the issue is the damage presented on the other side. You know, that's 15 and sitting right there. So a Hellfire, a Doomguard, a Soulfire, any of those cards would kill Dog at this point.
Right.
And so he's trying to figure out a way out of this.
If he uses Lava Burst to get past 3-4 and just goes all face, he puts his opponent to 9, can use Earthen Might to put him down to 7, and then maybe the second Lava Burst with this Doomhammer swings and get it past, but he's staring at 12.
And he knows that there's another jeklik in hand as well, though.
Right. Oh, you're right. The second jeklik, but he can get back all the spells.
So the key,
with the frog.
So the key to me is to get back spells, but he can't really do that this turn. Like, he can't afford to take the damage, and so he needs to just draw the other Rockbiter if this is going to end up working. And it depends if he's got another 3-cost spell in deck or not. And there isn't. It's Lava Burst only.
And also, if he double overloads with the Lava Burst, he can't play Kragwa the Frog.
So Dog ships it face, and he says, I hope this is good enough.
And Rhdgurwns is so close to lethal himself. He has 12 damage. Doomguard Hellfire.
Soulfire.
Soulfire off the top.
So is that enough? Soulfire face if it discards the Doomguard? It does not,
good.
though, and that's lethal.
That is game 1. Discard Warlock. Specifically, Quest Warlock
And honestly,
is back on the menu, boys.
It feels like a zoo deck in some regards, where you're just extremely outright aggressive and start to push the issue. It's unlike any deck in Hearthstone that I have ever played.
How can one man be so calm and yet so brave? I don't understand. This guy should be popping off right now, but he's just like, another day in the office. Just another Quest Warlock win against Dog.
Yeah.
One of the most accomplished players in America.
And that's sort of one of the things I'm thinking about with that deck is it more of an aggressive deck? Is it more of a mid-range deck? Or is it more of a late-game deck? And I think that aggression might be one of the big keys to unlocking it, because a lot of your discard cards are just naturally very aggressive. Cataclysm is a way to clear out the board position after you invested your first couple of turns, and then you go from there. You pretty much at some point need to move all in with the deck, and that's why I'm thinking aggression might be key.
Yeah, although it has other tools too, which sort of counteracts that aggression, because you have things like Shriek and Hellfire, so if you do build up the board, you do kind of hit yourself, but you offset that too, because you have the ability to recover your cards with jeklik coming back, and you get to see in full display why people are hyped for those discard synergy, and why I wanted to see this a lot earlier. Honestly, I was okay with the Dragon War the first time, or even the second time, but I wanted to see more of this stuff.
Well, it reminds me a lot of like the Spellstone in Hunter, where you're investing a lot of time upsetting your opponent's board, and then suddenly you play a lot of stuff at once. Like, right. That's kind of how Nether Portal works. You just keep making a bunch of 3/2s and hope that you can just out-tempo your opponent. But enough of that. We're on to another game.
Apparently, this is a Quest bargain sale. We have Quest Priest next on deck from Dog.
I love quests.
I love Quest too. Admirable, before Rastakhan's Rumble officially dropped, I did what I usually do, which is make terrible, bold predictions. And one of them was that that Quest decks would make a comeback. And I gotta say, I was 50-50 on that one, because I wasn't sure like what Quest decks would be good. Obviously, everyone knows Quest Rogue is still a thing. And, Quest Warrior has always been okay, like solid.
Yeah.
But what about all these other like middling stuff? Quest Warlock, Quest Hunter, Quest Priest. They all got some pretty decent support this expansion. Quest Druid made an appearance today and won as well. Yeah.
Well, there's, quests require fairly generic things for you to do. It's like play Death Rattle minions, or play Taunt minions, or play 1-cost minions. That is inherently not a very difficult thing, because as the more tools you get, the more flexibility your deck has. So as more cards get introduced, this is the maximum number of cards we're going to have in the card pool until the next rotation. So if there's an opportunity to play quests, I think the time is nigh. And yeah. I think that's a great prediction you made, because it's just it kind of demonstrates how the metagame cycles work with content. As more gets introduced, there's more options, there's more combos, there's more just solid stuff in general. It's such a cool time to be playing right now, because there's so much available to you. And so I think that quests They might not all be here to stay, but doggone it, I'm loving seeing it because I have so many Goldens of these things that I made on day 1 when they first came out, and I can't wait to use them all.
Yeah, this is one of the interactions that's pretty funny with Seance, is that you can keep using it on test subject and keep getting it back.
Yeah, that's one of the coolest things I think about Seance is with test subject. Every time you cast a spell on it, it gets stored, and when it dies, it goes back to your hand.
Looks like Rhdgurwns going for that aggressive strategy as well. Aggro Shaman. We haven't seen a really good version of an Aggro Shaman since the Pirate days, when you can summon patches.
Just look at how good Lickum is. As soon as you're overloaded, it has +2 attacks. That counts the turn you overload and the turn afterwards for just 2 mana, a 3-attack, 3-charge weapon.
Mind if I roll need?
How much damage is this?
A lot.
9 plus 6, 15.
Oh, wow.
Oh, we can Totemic Smash twice. I mean, you could also Lava Burst twice next turn and just kill Dog.
I'm thinking the play is probably you attack with the Lickum, you set up the Totemic Smash, and then next turn you go for the Electra plus the Lava Burst. And Rhdgurwns wasted no time. He says full steam ahead.
Yeah, Dog knows exactly what's coming next then. Wow. Doesn't mean he can do much to stop it because 10 damage is what's staring at him on the board. And this Quest Priest stuff is great. He needs Spirit Lash right now.
And that's not Spirit Lash.
To draw for it, though. Trade the Loot Hoarder first.
Big yikes. The frog for backup, by the way, like just in case. Just in case something got disrupted this turn, you just drop a 4/6 and get back your Totemic Smash.
Yeah, this is a little tough. You can use this Topsy-Turvy on his own test subject to get Power Word Shield back and to once again try to test for the Spirit Lash. And I think Dog recognizes this. He says, you know what? I've taken a lot of damage. I need Spirit Lash right now. And it would be a huge boon to clear off most of the minions on the board.
Not it.
No.
Electra Lava Burst.
Wow.
That's enough. Rhdgurwns quick 2-0.
Yeah. Aggro Shaman. Making the comeback. And Dog was talking about how Combo Priest is tier 1, but the thing about combo decks is that they're all universally weak to aggro. And Rhdgurwns only has 1 deck remaining. That was so fast. We were like at turn 5 of AK Wonder versus Blood Trail, Warrior versus Warrior by the time we got to this point.
Yeah. Rhdgurwns doesn't mess around.
I mean, he clearly also understands his stuff. We have Mage remaining. Dog has to win his first game. And it looks like Dog also has a little bit of that aggro approach as well. So that Shaman deck looked really fearsome. I gotta say, I slept a little bit on Aggro Shaman when I was first looking at the cards because I was so enamored by the overload synergies, or Zentimo being able to bring out like the adjacent spell cast, but perhaps just using all these tools to push the agenda and make sure to like really put a lot of pressure onto your opponent is what really Shaman need to get back on top of the metagame.
Well, I mean, the decks that play defense, they can stabilize very quickly, very suddenly, but it takes them a while to get to that point. And so if you're going to play a very aggressive deck that doesn't have that super longevity, the outright aggression is certainly a way to do it, and I think Lickum is one of the perfect cards in the new set that can get that job done. It just represents so much damage for so little mana at a cost of something that you're going to do anyway to play some of your most efficient cards in Shaman, which is Overload.
That's right. And, it'll be up to the Odd Warriors and the Druids to stop that kind of pressure on. But we're going to move past that and go into game number 3. Dog could potentially lose faster than you could see a Warrior mirror match. And we'll have to see if his Tier 1 predictions for this Priest can live up to its hype.
To be fair, the mountains were created faster than a Warrior mirror match, so I mean, it's not saying too much there.
Yeah, that's right. I'm sure we could marathon the entire collection of Lord of the Rings before we finish a single Odd Warrior mirror. That being said, Odd Mage is a completely different change of pace than the previous deck. Rhdgurwns, I like it. He's got a mix of decks. He's got a control deck, he's got an aggro deck, and he's got a little bit of that mid-range discard Warlock style too, which is cool.
I don't have no idea what to classify discard Warlock as. It's just another quest deck. Quest decks kind of do their thing, and they do it pretty consistently.
I'll call it 5-star Warlock, can we?
All right, so this is more the tone.
Yeah, this is what we kind of expected.
Yeah.
The thing is, Control Mage is great, but it also has the same problems as the Odd Warrior, where it doesn't do a good job pressuring their opponent compared to some other Mage decks in the past.
Yeah, it typically does not. You know, one of the forms of pressure that comes from control decks is just the threat that you're going to kill everything your opponent plays. You know, that's a real, actual deal when it comes to control decks, is that they threaten to run you out of cards. I think that Baku Mage with John Alai can do that often a number of times. They have a ton of AoE packed into the deck. The hero power is super efficient early on if you're going, you know, minion for minion. And then John Alai providing you such a big swing with both Ragnaros and potentially the 8 health refunded because of Frostlich Jaina granting Ragnaros lifesteal is a really big deal. I think that this deck has a lot of tinkering to do, and I'm curious to see how it develops in the next couple weeks.
And Rhdgurwns has nothing to do but react, and Dog is just drawing his deck through and through. More draw, almost to the point where he has 2 March card draw, but also he's not actually too far off from even killing his opponent if he's able to assemble the Stone Toast Boar and the Divine Spirit.
Yeah, and that's really the thing is, you know, Dog's playing inherently like a defensive control deck, but if you give it enough time and don't have a way to pressure it or like you know, substantiate the board to disrupt your opponent, what ends up happening is Dog just has all the time in the world to get this done.
Right.
And when it starts going off, you die because test subjects become, you know, an infinite. It makes infinite charge minions that have effectively infinite attack. And it's quite an elaborate setup to get it done, but once it's done, that's it.
Yep, Vivid Nightmare picked up, so that's another nice piece. I mean, he had Shadow Visions to dig for it, but it's always nice to know because the Vivid Nightmare is really important, not just for the copy of the test subject, but also the copy of the Radiant Elemental to decrease the cost of this.
And Seance, you know, the ability to add another Alara to your hand, or Amara? Amara to your hand.
Yeah.
You know, that's a second time you can set your health to 40 with an 8/8 taunt for 5 mana.
Right.
And you paid a hefty price to get it done, but it's done now.
Oh, regenerate.
Ooh, Dog needs to get a card out of hand as well.
You can just regenerate for 3 life. I think he feels like with this 2 Vivid Nightmares,
yeah, that probably means hang on to the other
be fine.
Shadow Visions then.
Yeah, the Shadow Visions he's probably going to hold on so that he can narrow down that Divine Spirit. Because then all he really needs is the Stone Tusk Boar. And that's why some players, when they were building this deck, first put in Witchwood Piper so they can get that Stone Tusk Boar.
Right. So you don't know which piece you need yet in Dog's position to complete your combo. It's just a, you know, a number of spells that you checklist. And as you draw them, you get a better idea of what you actually need. So I like that he's just hanging on to it here. And just, you know, waiting to see what he draws and then trying to figure it out from there.
Yep. And you can see the Seance doing exactly what you were talking about. Was this Dog's idea to do Quest Priest with OTK with some of the new tools?
That's a good question. I'm not actually sure.
It's totally up his alley in terms of what he would end up doing.
I mean, a lot of players share similar ideas, right? Like, I wasn't the first player that I had heard of in my circle of friends to even suggest High Priestess Jeklik discard Warlock. You know, Rhdgurwns all the way in South Korea is doing the same thing. A lot of Hearthstone, I think, is, you know, collective minds at work trying to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
You know, talking millions of games get played on day one. As Ragnaros gets summoned. 8 damage from your hero power, and John Alai summons Ragnaros the Fire Lord.
Yeah, but Dog has Psychic Scream and Mass Hysteria, and he was talking about how good that card Mass Hysteria is.
Yeah.
And again, I'll be honest, I haven't played enough of the new set yet to see Mass Hysteria in action. It's never been played against me.
It's pretty darn solid. And I think the way to play around this is to have 3 evenly sized minions on board, so that way the first one attacks into one, and it kills itself off, and then that's it. Yeah,
wow.
This is you know, a pretty tough outcome, but Dog's got 40 life and a way to pick this off in hand. I don't think he's sweating this too much.
Yeah. And he also still has another Mass Hysteria and another Psychic Scream.
But my gosh, what a powerful card. It just removed so much attack and health from the board for 5 mana. It's insane. I think that card is going to be so good for such a long time.
Well, Priest generally has access to strong AoE cards from a lot of the sets. Dog picks up another Seance. His hand's getting a little bit jammed. One thing I do notice, too, about decks that play a lot of card resources with Combo
that's
Priest.
a perfect outcome as well. So when the minions attack, if they die amidst the attacks, their death rattles don't happen quite yet. But what happens is they can't attack or be attacked again. So in that outcome there, if the 5/5 hits the Rhdgurwns first, Rhdgurwns would keep a 3/3 on board.
Good to know.
Saronite Taskmaster, I think one of my favorite cards in the set. Kind of a boring card, but it's a 1-mana 2/3. Death rattle, your opponent gets a 0/3 taunt. Right? You know, not really a tough death rattle to pay for such a big body on 1 mana.
Topsy-turvy. Another really important piece.
Let's go again.
I mean, Dog's just stalling until he can draw more of his cards. I mean, he was very fortunate in the beginning to get basically all of his card draw engine going and finish the quest so super fast, but kind of hitting a little bit of a dead end with his card draw at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think Rhdgurwns, again, is really sweating it right now. The big sweat is when Dog finally draws the combo damage. That's going to be the big one.
Oh, you won't even have time to sweat. An instant scream from Dog, realizing he doesn't have much to do here. And that looks like that scream was off the top of his deck.
Yeah, with 9 cards in hand, he's just got to make sure he maintains hand size properly and goes from there.
I don't know, the Twilight's Call, but does that gets too much card draw, right, at that point? He's drawing 2 cards, he's at full 10.
It definitely can. You know, I would say, like, he probably needs to hang on to this because I think both test subjects are gone. Is that correct?
No, I think only one tossed in. That'd be very surprising if you just threw in the second test subject.
Yeah,
that just means
that really would be. But, you know, he's closing in towards the end of the game. And so, you know, now that he's got Twilight's Call plus a Topsy-Turvy, the missing piece now is Divine Spirit. So he is free to Shadow Visions and then pretty much just toss a card away. You don't really need every single tool in the deck. You just need enough of the tools.
It's true. For example, the Akanai card can be just tossed in.
Yeah,
Wait, it is test subject.
1 test subject and 1 Dead Ringer. So the Dead Ringer draws a Death Rattle minion, and now with 9 cards in hand, Dog needs to get rid of 1 card or risk a burn. Amara's not quite as spectacular when it gains 2 health.
No, but still a fearsome 8/8 body. Watchless Jaina.
Yep, and then for fear of dying immediately,
Yeah,
Flame Strike is on deck.
Yeah. It's really fearsome to leave that test subject just on the board because then your opponent has 1 less piece that they need in the hand.
So there's the other test subject, and now Divine Spirit, the missing piece. So I don't know what spells exactly are left in Dog's deck. This might be enough to get it done here, and if he's going with the Radiant Elemental, this is enough.
Okay, yep.
It's going to look kind of confusing with arrows pointing everywhere.
Yeah, this deck requires you to go pretty fast, too, just because sometimes the animation lengths will stall you out.
Yeah.
So don't think too hard. Usually just go for it.
It's called APM Priest as a reference to actions per minute priest. You need to have a lot of them in order to get this done. But the goal is that you store buffs onto your test subject. You then get multiples of them in your hand. You then make multiple things, and then you attack your opponent and you kill them in 1 turn.
Yep. So apologies. I was confusing this with the Santos Pro version, but you can use this with the Regenerate.
Yeah, the Regenerate Phantasm and kill the opponent with the OTK. And I don't know how he knows all this stuff already, but my gosh, Rhdgurwns is dead this turn.
Because it's Dog, and he knows. You can generate basically infinite damage here.
It's only pseudo-infinite, though, because you only get as much as you can actually
hold in your hand.
Or click
Yeah.
in the time frame, for that matter.
Well, there's also hand space issues. Sometimes if you, like, stack too much, you get, like, all Vivid Nightmares back.
The look on Dog's face tells me that he has completed the game, though. Or that he has colossally messed up, one of those two.
We'll have to see. It's clear that he queued up a lot of the actions.
Did he stack too many Vivid Nightmares?
That's what I was telling you. He runs out. You have to make sure you don't run out of ability, or hand space, rather.
All these actions are already
admirable.
These are all already queued up for Dog's side.
I'm sweating. I don't know.
This is like the Indiana Jones movie where he keeps looking back and the door just keeps opening a little bit more at the end.
Dude, his facial expression, the way he's doing it, is like kind of indicating that he probably got it, but
Look at Rhdgurwns too. He's like, it's like the rope is just infinitely burning.
Please messed up. Please have messed up.
Yeah, that's enough. The last 2 regenerates in hand.
Yeah.
Now what would be
There we
hysterical
go.
is if the rope burned right there and closed off Rhdgurwns at 3. All right.
All right.
That's Hearthstone.
Oh, man.
Look, I am never touching that deck because I can't do that. I don't know what just happened. I know what happened, but I don't really know what happened. There's a very specific sequence that you need to go in order to complete that, and Dog has clearly already memorized that sequence.
I want to know how many cards were played that round, or that turn, rather. And I'm venturing to guess that it was in like the 30s or 40s of how many cards he played, and it was pretty ridiculous. But man, that was quite an exciting game.
Yeah, that's like a shutter. That's like one Shutterwalk animation.
And perhaps why many people can start to believe, perhaps, why that pre-stack is very strong, because it's got some better stall tools with Mass Hysteria, as you were hearing from Dog himself, and Seance gives a little bit more consistency with the game plan, and Quest Priest tying it all together in a very nice defensive, protective shell.
And look at this Elec that's in hand for Dog as he mulligans away. Perhaps
doing the Undertaker stuff.
I'm thinking that with the Prelate, the Mortal Prelate, 2 mana, 1/3 for Paladin. Its Death Rattle says shuffle this into your deck and keep the buffs on it. So stuff like Blessing of Kings, Spike Ridge Steed, those will stick to a Mortal Prelate when it dies and get shuffled back into your deck.
Yep.
And,
I saw that earlier too with just like Sound the Bells, putting a ton of stacks onto the Mortal Prelate, just getting so much value over time.
Yeah, and then you also have the option to, put that minion into play from an effect, say Call to Arms or like a Guild Recruiter. Just able to grab a 2-drop from your deck and stick it right into play. It'll have all the buffs when that happens. High Priest the call. All your life converted into armor except 1, which is all you need.
Yep, and now all the heals can be beneficial.
Prismatic Lens in hand for Dog as well.
Oh.
I imagine that is, pretty specifically for Shrivala. You can actually increase the cost of certain spells with minions and cycle it back around.
Huh.
Kind of interesting.
I kind of want to look at the deck list now.
Really,
if only there's a way to do that.
I love Crystology in Paladin decks right now too. With the way that the healing packages are working, you want Crystal Smith Kangor a lot. Soup Vendor is an addition you have for card draw, a 2-mana 1/4 that says when you restore 3 or more health, draw a card. A lot of cool interactions with that card, and say like Ziliax, for instance, allowing you to get some card advantage and play some defense at the same time.
Yeah, precisely. Soup Vendor is a pretty underrated card, I'd say. Just because people thought it wouldn't be that consistent, but Paladin has a lot of heal right now.
Yeah, and one of the big factors, I think, is Crystology, the 2-mana spell. It says draw 2 1-power minions from your deck, or 1 attack minions from your deck. I think that's what Prismatic Lens is in here for. It's just to act as like
card draw,
like an Arcane Intellect, except sometimes you just draw Shrivala as the minion from your deck, and it gets discounted immediately.
Yeah, it's just funny to me because basically that was like Branching Paths that chose to draw twice.
Yeah. Just sometimes you get a major power spike from the way it works.
Quality Consecration to clear the board. The nice thing too is it leaves behind a couple of taunt minions.
Just a little bit of padding.
Yeah, which is nice for the buffs.
Those, however, make a lot of sense in this deck. The mage is struggling early, and at the same time, later in the game with Frostlich Jaina, you can utilize the Daring Fire Eater to ping off the 0/3s and get a water elemental from it.
No, Rhdgurwns prioritizes the tempo now because his hand is rather weak in terms of its variety.
Card draw from your dead 0/3, or from your dead 2/3. Seems solid.
The Augmented Elec definitely feels a little overkill for the greed, though, doesn't it? Just like you want to shuffle another copy in.
Well, it's also a 3-mana 3/4. I'm a big fan of the 3/4 body for 3 mana. I think all of those cards have some sort of potential with them if you have the support, and that's what always excites me.
That's fair.
Because I'm like, this card's decent. Maybe it can be used, maybe it can't, but it's a 3-mana 3/4, so I know I can try it and not feel too bad about it.
I like your optimism. That's good. Prismatic Lens again. Is there any other switcheroos?
Shrivala getting cheap now as well. I'm telling you, it's for the Shrivala. It's so that you could just sometimes get lucky and play it and get murdery
I
real
know,
quick.
it's just really funny that both of those times they played, it just literally didn't do anything.
He's even got Holy Wrath. He's got a Baleful Banker, the Shirvala, and OTK.
Snap. He's gonna shuffle. He's gonna Baleful Banker the Shirvala and Holy Wrath it.
Oh, that is spicy. Now the key is he's got to live.
Oh yeah, he's getting pressured by the
But
100
you could
hero
do
power.
that because Shirvala plus the Baleful Banker also gives you the lifesteal that turn.
You're right, and he can do it this turn.
That's
Although
why the Elix in there is to shuffle in 2.
Yes. So he can Holy Wrath twice. You Holy Wrath for 50 because it's 25-25.
I'm loving this deck already.
Yo.
And 3 very strong options from a new challenger. ... You discover a 6-cost minion, and you put it into play with Divine Shield and Taunt for 7 mana.
Yeah. And, you know, because of that, Dog doesn't want to use Shirvala until it's the last card in the deck to
That's
guarantee it. Can he survive that long?
Well, Rhdgurwns is piling on some pressure.
Goodness.
So we're going to find out. I mean, he's got a timeout in hand. He needs some life gain, though. Life gain is very key at this point.
Yeah. At this point, Dog can't even really be doing anything to gain life. 2 Holy Wraths.
So to me, one of the questions is, does Dog have a second copy of Baleful Banker in the deck? And if so, that's a play he can go for this turn. But if he doesn't have 2 copies of Baleful Banker, that needs to be stored in hand, unless he feels like he could just win with board presence, which I don't think that he believes he can do.
Timeout, gonna stall for a turn.
Reporting for duty.
Considering Shrink Ray as well to just try to wipe out some of the board.
I mean, that's gonna exist next turn as well.
Unless your board gets swept.
It's true.
It's got some backup options, though. All right, so Rhdgurwns, no damage options on the table at this point.
I gotta say though, this is why watching Dog stream is just so pleasant sometimes and fun, because he comes up, or he's able to play a lot of these really high level, weird, janky meme decks, and he climbs the top 100 consistently with it. It just blows my mind. Although I'm not sure if he has much time left because of the threat of the Blaze Caller, number 2. And I don't know if Dog's gonna play around that.
I don't know if he can. He'd have to use Shirvala in order to do that.
He is using it.
There's plenty to go around.
Let's stash that away.
So he wants to save the Elec for a different shuffle in.
That means he does have a second copy.
Yeah, that would tell me that there is a second copy of Baleful Banker, and there it is.
Boom.
Reporting for duty.
You can even play that other Baleful Banker, shuffle another Baleful Banker, but that would make his hand a little bit less consistent.
Rip that Dragon's Fury. No shortage of pressure on Rhdgurwyn's side still.
Yeah, the Arcane Tyrant here is pretty nice too.
Oh, the Zola as well.
Oh.
I'm curious
I
if...
think he wants the Blaze Caller.
Yeah.
Blaze Caller and Zola for the extra burst.
Anticipating... Oh, nope. Hang on.
Does he, though?
I mean, this is a free mana 4/4. That is 3 mana for a 7/7. Or 6/6, rather.
Yeah, but
Even
I'll
3
just
mana for
go
a
away.
4/4, and I'm sold.
It's true, your opponent did use an equality. Another Flash Heal.
So, Shrink Ray, Wild Pyromancer, Flash of Light is a full clear
Flash
here.
of Light. Yeah. Flash Heal's the Priest card. Apologies.
Set him to 1.
Yeah. Good sequencing to make sure that you keep your Pyromancer alive as opposed to change it to 1 health and it dies.
Doesn't seem like much, but a 3/1's a big deal.
Another Shirvala. But that's what the Baleful Banker's for.
Yeah, so now that needs to be kept. How do you discount the Holy Wraths?
Prismatic Lens.
I hope you like my invention.
Ooh, another timeout. 5/6 plus a
Oh.
Blaze Caller plus that is 14. Dog would survive another turn for burst.
Kind of needs to get just a little bit of damage here, though.
That's right. He needs to get his opponent down to 25 if possible.
Yeah, because you can't cast both Holy Wraths in the same turn unless...
Unless you hit guarantee it's shuffled in twice and you didn't draw it.
Yeah, so I don't really know exactly how that works. I'm going to be curious to see how this ends up panning out. Oh, boy.
That's one way.
That could be
Rhdgurwns
lethal
can
this
win.
turn. That could be lethal this turn.
It can be. Oh, boy.
Now it
okay,
can't.
He's not going. But Dog gets another turn because of timeout.
That's right.
How close is he to the bottom of his deck? This is a nail biter, Admirable.
I mean, this is getting crazy.
That's a draw. Anything that helps him get closer to his deck. Flash of light.
I don't know how this works, but I can't wait. I mean, I know how it works, but I don't know exactly how he's dealing this last 2 points of damage. It's extremely critical.
Maybe he times out and Holy Wraths now, so he gets the damage. Because there's nothing that's 0 cost in his deck. So he puts his opponent down to 25. Then goes for it.
Ah, I see what you're saying. You just go ahead and rip it for that little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
He can first draw. It's also a game of probability because Tog could just go for it ultimately.
I'm almost out of cards.
Oh, he's down to 2 cards remaining.
This is how you do it. So
That should do it.
this makes a lot of sense for how this works now. So 2 Shirvallas now shuffled into the deck. You attack. You guarantee there's at least 1 Shirvalla remaining in your deck. And so you get to Holy Wrath twice.
Okay, and Rhdgurwns knows what's happening with the Baleful Banker. He should know the Holy Wrath's coming. He needs the Blast Wave for counter spell. And he sees it.
Oh my gosh, you're right. And you could attack the Shirvalla as well to set it to a 7-1.
But that doesn't ensure that you win because, like, if Ragnar's misses and Shirvalla survives, then Shirvalla gains the life back.
You're blast waving the Shirvalla away. So the 1-2 attacks the 2-2. The 4-4 attacks the 7-5. Your opponent has a 3-4.
Okay.
You then use blast wave. There's a 3-2 left on the opposite side, and you get to hero power it.
Okay. You're right. So 1 less card. Keeps his options open. Snap, freeze, lesser ruby spell. So Spellstone can still give him. He can still give him the counter spell.
Not anymore, it can't.
Oh man. Arcane Intellect is not it.
So there's 2 cards left in his deck.
He's done it.
Wow.
Holy Wrath.
25 and 25.
Out of cards.
Yes.
That is beautiful.
Dog spelled backwards is God. Feast on that, Korea.
50 damage. 50. He didn't do anything the whole game, and then suddenly 50 damage.
Okay, to be fair, he was on the verge of dying for several turns and did a fantastic job navigating it all out. But that's just a snippet of what to expect from his content in his stream. I know it sounds like we're kind of all over Dog, but I gotta say Rhdgurwns did what he could for the most part. I mean, he clearly didn't have any outs outside of like some Hail Mary Blast Wave scenario.
And if you want to try to counter that, try using Hikari the Soul Flare.
Yeah, Hikari Soul Flare, or perhaps the Mojo Master, Zihi, to cut down their mana so that they have less ability to combo you and give you some time. I mean, there's definitely some ways you can mess with it. I mean, some people even played Nerubian Unraveler towards the end of the Boomsday meta and the Witchwood metas.
Combo decks are so cool, but there are some powerful tools that can easily disrupt them. Now, they tend to be fairly inefficient cards, but when they work, they work.
I mean, a lot of people might think I'm joking, but that was actually seen in some decks at one point. So to disrupt.
I've used it in Even Warlock.
Yeah.
I recall using that card to shut off a Psychic Scream.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I feel smart.
Some combo decks are reliant on 1-mana spells. You can Skulk and Geist them. But let's go into game number 5. This is the matchup that I think Dog want to avoid the most. This is so hard for aggressive board-based shaman to take down an odd mage that has all defenses in the world, but Dog does have Burst, and I think that's kind of where it could be a difference maker. Things like Doomhammer and Lava Burst can make up that difference very easily.
Yep, and something that you're going to need more of in this particular match is just more burn spells. And so I think that the Kragwa is pretty welcome in this match. 6 mana, 4/6 legendary Loa for Shaman. Return all spells that you played last turn to your hand.
Yep. Rhdgurwns has to debate if he wants to take any damage or kill, but I think this is perfectly fine, just hero power. Pyromaniac's not super important to play right now.
Yep, Thunderhead is going to be check number 2 for pressure.
Shall we make a storm?
And Odd Mage does not have good removal spells until turn 5.
Now, the thing that I'm quite curious about is to see how Thunderhead ends up stacking up, because as you overload make 1/1s, Blast Wave options get opened up.
You are correct.
Rhdgurwns going to favor killing the Spell Power Totem. It looks like, you know, an aggressive deck that plays with Thunderhead, Spell Power Totem is so much more scary than it is if your opponent's just playing Shutterwalk. So don't be fooled by your experience versus Shutterwalk. If your opponent is playing an aggressive deck, Spell Power Totem is a real threat. So build your board to contest, and then try to get rid of that Spell Power Totem so they can't burst you out of the game.
Yeah, tricky situation here for Dog. Does not have that overload preemptively. This is one of the drawbacks of Lickum. You'd want to have that impact immediately versus Spirit Claws that could be attacking right now for 3 attack.
Yeah, still I think fairly wise to go ahead and use the Lava Burst here.
Yeah, this is not going to be a game where Dog is going to win through using Lava Burst to face. I think he needs minion damage.
Pretty fantastic turn on the backswing, though.
Yeah, the Arcane Tyrant makes a lot of sense, too, because the Odd Mage tends to struggle to develop behind their AO effect. I mean, heck, even Big Spell Mage suffers from that, too. So it ends up lining up very nicely.
Hand's getting a bit heavy.
Yeah.
Oof. Another Lava Burst here. Now that one kind of hurts, because that's the second Lava Burst.
Yeah, so you can't frog it back.
Oh, and Ziliax found. Rhdgurwns was out of cards to play this turn. And Ziliax is going to provide some much-needed backup when you miss a turn like this.
Yeah. 2 mana, 9 damage. Lickum can go face, but Dog also runs out of overload spells, too. Spear of the Frog, though, I mean, that can just draw a ton of cards.
A big Spear to the Frog fan.
Yeah, I slept on that card. I wasn't sure how good. It's just hard to figure out, right? Like, what's good based off your initial impression. But when you start mixing and matching, like, oh, I can actually just keep drawing a ton of cards with this.
And every time you cast a spell, you draw one that costs 2 more.
So we know there's another Rock Biter in the deck. I think a second Frog doesn't do anything, perhaps, in this spot. Is that kind of what Dog's thinking right now?
I think Earthen Might is the
Earthen
card.
Might, you're
Like,
right.
Is it worth using the second Frog? I think is part of the consideration here, because you can second Frog and Totemic Smash, or you can Totemic Smash and then consider the options. And so, you know, with Kragwa, it's not as simply as just getting back a spell. You want to maximize its potential in the right spot. Sometimes that means a single card. Sometimes that means getting multiple cards.
Yeah, that makes sense. And look at how Rhdgurwns treats the Spear of the Frog. Dragon's Fury.
Yeah, don't mess around with card draw. It's no joke.
Oh, yeah. If you think about it, like Manatide Totem, it's still also very threatening.
Yeah, I think it's like, to me, it's like a mix of Elven Minstrel and Gadgets and Auctioneer,
That's true, too.
where you're getting something specific, but you got to do something to do it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And this turn,
Ooh.
looking like a pop-off turn.
Benevolent Djinn, not exactly what Dog is looking for.
So it's a setup turn instead.
Yeah.
And that's going to mean Frostlich Jaina almost certainly.
Do not fear power.
And now the game's getting tough.
Those who wield it.
Dog's perspective is things were all right, and then this Jaina hits, and you go, oh boy.
Yeah, that means anything Thunderhead summons is going to be a liability.
Ooh.
Spear of the Frog, Electra, some great synergy. see what ends up coming off this Voltaic Burst first.
And with Rhdgurwns at 35, full health total and 5 armor, Dog's pretty free to, treat this as a value scenario and just make the most of the cards that are happening right now.
Yep. Electra plus Rockbiter gets a very clean kill on the Water Elemental. Man, that thing on Doomhammer is going to be so scary. And he also removes all of his low health minions by doing this. This was excellently navigated. Rhdgurwns has Blast Wave and Flame Strike. Oh, wow.
That kills everything,
That
right?
kills everything.
Wait. 4 damage? Yep, and then 3 more to make a Water Elemental.
Oh my gosh.
Daring Fire Eater. Gosh, I love that card.
Yeah. Again, I slept on that card.
Just so innocuous.
Yeah, it's like, okay, it's all right. And then you start thinking, wow, it's pretty solid.
I'll tell you what, having to use those Lava Bursts early really cost Dog a lot of ground in this game.
Yeah. And makes it even more painful because he has to trade this extra Voltaic Burst in Elemental just to avoid giving an extra Water Elemental over. Good news, though, Rhdgurwns doesn't have a way to summon that Water Elemental easily right now.
Bad news, Rhdgurwns is at 30.
Is there a Hagatha in Dog's deck? I doubt it.
That would definitely be an interesting and welcome card at this point.
I think he's got to dig deep in order to take down Rhdgurwns here.
Ooh. And we're seeing the segment of where aggro shaman struggles. If you fail to close the game early, it is about the scrappiest of scrappy fights that you could possibly imagine. Against a deck that's packed full of value, it's going to be tough to overcome it if they're at all stable. Setting up the board so that there are no hero power options available. And that's going to be Rhdgurwns' sign to go ahead and get aggressive.
Yeah. Even trading off the board and setting up Stargazer Luna for big draw combos himself. You got your Spirit of the Frog, well, I have the Spirit of the Stars. And Dog is stuck with a Benevolent Djinn. And it looks like Rhdgurwns is going to be able to wrap this one up pretty soon. Almost anything that he just plays here is going to be too much for Dog to handle.
Yeah, this is just massive.
Oh, the Blast Wave synergy alone is outrageous.
Yeah, I guess we'll kill a minion, make a 6/6 and draw a card.
Yeah.
Then we'll kill a minion, make a Water Elemental. And then we'll kill the rest of the board. The takeover is real.
A good demonstration of also where Odd Mage currently sits. It's also a fantastic deck at dissecting this aggro. Lickham can't do anything. I think Dog's staring at death. Passes it over in good sportsmanship, and Rhdgurwns is going to close it out and even the score for the East versus the West as South Korea also gets on the board. And while, Rhdgurwns takes the win, Dog also got to show off